Hello, and thanks for joining us for another edition of CN Live. We're going to get an update on Black Guns Matter from Maj Toure in a few minutes. But our first guest is former NYPD officer and former Secret Service agent, and now is a best-selling author and conservative commentator known as the Renegade Republican, Dan Bongino. Thanks. What's going on?
Hey, great to be here. Thanks for having me. Appreciate
Doing good. How are they doing that last name? Did I butcher it, or are we good?
You know, shockingly, you got it right the first time out of the chute. I pretty much answer to anything. Bingo, Buongiorno. When I ran for office, I told people it's like Bon Jovi with a Gino and none of his money. Bongino, you can't screw it up. So
well, it can't be as bad as being called Colion.
I did that before. So I'm guilty. So you got my name right, and I owe you big time.
Nah, man, I'm good. I'm used to it.
I said Colin. So
my mom even says Colin.
Sorry.
That's what happens when you don't use your real name. So let's get right into it. So you just published a book. It's your second book that offers an inside look at the Secret Service. Are you getting any backlash from this book at all from the Department of Treasury or anyone else?
No. That matter of fact, behind the scenes, most of the guys are contacting me saying, "Hey, thanks for putting this out there." I mean, I think chapter 2 of the book is the White House fence jumper. And remember that incident where Omar Gonzalez jumped the fence, made it all the way onto the state floor? And I go into why that incident, why one, obviously it should have never happened, but specifically how it happened mattered. You know, the fact that people knew for years that the White House was vulnerable to this type of thing, and nothing happened wasn't a security failure. It was a failure of the bureaucracy. And I get comments on that chapter all the time, people who are blown away. Like, really? We can't even secure the president's life without bureaucrats getting in the way? And the answer is apparently not.
I actually tweeted a very snarky tweet when that happened. I was just like, so let me just get this correct. The president just shot a home intruder with a gun. When they shot him. But,
he could have if he was back. I mean, he made it that far, You know
what's funny? Actually, I was actually asking myself. We're gonna devolve into juvenile land here for a second. I was actually asking myself, if I were the president, would I still carry?
I would.
I think I would too. I'm pretty sure people would think I was crazy, but I would still carry.
No, I don't think so. I mean, why not? I mean, when you think about it, right? If everything were to break down, I mean, the Secret Service does a great job. I was there for 12 years. Yeah. Despite some failures of their management and other things, the agents there are really, really good. But, nothing's perfect. I mean, the Secret Service doesn't guarantee security. Nobody can guarantee anything. They just say, we're going to put the best plan possible. Wouldn't you want that fail-safe? I mean, I'm never running for office again, like ever, tons of power of 52,000. But if I were to, and I ran and won the presidency, I'd carry. I mean, why not?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to devolve into juvenile land. I was watching London Has Fallen, and when the president, they gave him an MP5, I was like, yeah, let's go do this.
All right. Yeah, man, I'm with that. No, I'm with you 100%. I would totally do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, when I ran for Congress, I know there's some rules up in the Hill on doing it, but I was committed. I still had my FLIOSA license to carry, and if people were asking me, are you still going to carry? I said, yeah. Of course. Why would I not carry? That's insane.
Yeah. So what is the culture like typically within the Secret Service in terms of the idea of citizens carrying firearms or just the Second Amendment in general?
Yeah. You get any of these guys off the record, because none of them, of course, when they're still employed, can talk publicly. But you get them off the record, they are all huge Second Amendment advocates. And when I say all, I'm pretty confident in that. I never met an agent. I mean, you ask kids in grammar school who wants homework. There's always that one kid that raises his hand, right? Unanimity is hard, but it's almost unanimous. Most of the men and women I know understand and value the Second Amendment completely. And I think that a lot of that has to do with them being former police officers like I was, former military, people who have familiarity with weapons. And they figured out, and I'm being sarcastic here, they magically don't shoot themselves. Like they're not these scary things the left wants you to believe, that they're just tools to defend yourself when used appropriately. So
no, absolutely.
I think that's why it has a lot to do with it.
What's interesting is that I've watched quietly a lot more of the interviews that you think I have that you've done, and and what I found interesting is like they'll bring you on as an expert in many ways, but then it's almost like they're bringing you on to discredit you in some sense. Because like you pointed out, you analogize the idea of the one kid in the class who says, yeah, I want homework. You'll get up there and you'll say something to the extent that you just said, and they'll say, well, no, we have this one one particular individual who's in Secret Service somewhere deep downside a hole that we can't quite verify, but trust us on this. He disagrees with you.
Oh, I have a viral video out there debating a gun grabber in Maryland, this guy, Vinny DeMarco, who's a far left guy. He's a lobbyist. And yeah, this thing goes on for like 8 to 10 minutes. I mean, to get someone to watch an 8 to 10 minute video, I mean, listen, if it's not, believe me, I know if it's not 30 seconds, nobody cares. This thing has gone nuclear, and I still have it emailed back to me because here's the trick, by the way, and I know you've done this. When you're debating gun grabbers, especially on television and cable, don't become friendly with them in the green room because they'll try to get friendly because they're going to smoke you on the set, and we as conservatives are nice people, and we're going to feel bad. So what I did is I avoided this guy in the green room. He tried to shake my hand, and I pretended I didn't see it, and I walked away. And when we got on this set, I mean, I stole this guy's lunch money. No. I stole his lunch, his future lunch money, and his bank account. And I think to this day, I kid you not, he will not debate me. He will never show up on a set with me again because he trotted out all the stupid talking points, you know?
Speaking of talking points, when I was watching the Don Lemon session, and he tried to lay that whole talking point nonsense on you. I just thought that was interesting. I was like, really, Don? I was like, but
that was fun.
You know, what's interesting is like what a lot of people don't realize and understand too is how much stuff goes on behind the scenes where anti-gunners avoid having this conversation with people who they know what they're talking about. If they can take someone who they feel that they can manipulate and make the other side look bad, they'll debate them all day long on TV. But generally speaking, you know, like you said, the guy avoids you like the plague now. So it's, you know.
And even when they lose the debate, like in the Katie Couric footage, they edit it to make it look like they won.
Yep.
You know, you know this as well as I do. The left has tired talking points. There's nothing creative about being a leftist because it's culturally acceptable.
Yeah.
So they never learn how to debate because all their friends in their bubble are leftists too. So when they say things like, you know, gun violence, we need more gun laws, and you say to them very simple things like, you know, gun ownership in the United States is at an all-time high, while crime is at an all-time low. In limited circles, we call that a clue. And they're like, they panic. They don't know what to say because they've never heard things like that.
Well, and they'll fall back on our hyperboles. Well, I just think it's ridiculous. No one needs that. They sensationalize. They always fall back into sensationalism. I don't think anybody needs a 100 billion round clip that can shoot 100 billion rounds in 10 seconds and 35 minutes. I'm like, what?
Right. Nobody needs a flamethrower or a nuclear weapon.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, we call that reductio ad absurdum, right?
I was just about to say.
You're creating an absurd argument that no sane person is made ever.
Yeah.
You know, who's arguing for a nuclear weapon or a flame? Oh, nobody? So it's just you.
There's this thing called diminishing returns. I don't know if you really conceptually understand that, but that's a problem.
Right. I mean, they don't understand it. And then you throw at them even the law, like Supreme Court cases, you know, readily available weapons that, you know, and these are hunting weapons, these are sporting rifles, these are self-defense rifles that are readily available. And they look at you like, gosh, you know, I've never really had to think. When I threw out this stupid talking point in the past, everybody just accepted it.
It's like,
well, why are you fighting me on this? You know, come on, I'm supposed to be right. I'm a liberal. You know?
The one thing I will give us fighting the good fight in the gun debate is we spend so much time engaging in research. A lot of like you said, the talking points on the other side is handed to them. And, you know, I know the time I spend looking at stats, and I'm like, okay, that stat sounds great for me, but let me go back and make sure I have the full context of it within the circumstance of which I need it to be, and make sure that when I say it, it's absolutely true.
Because you're a conservative.
Yeah, exactly.
And your conservatism is about truth. And, you know, but, you know, I say this all the time to my listeners. I'm like, fellas, listen, liberalism it doesn't mean anything. It's a bumper sticker. Like, you have to understand, like, they have no core tenets, whether it's gun rights, but they'll fight for gun rights for like Michael Moore. Like he'll get an armed bodyguard, but he won't fight for gun rights for you. I mean, whether it's, you know, not to get off topic, but Obamacare, taxes, they will change their position on anything to advance a control agenda. Liberalism doesn't really mean anything, but you as a conservative, you have your facts ready because you believe in a core set of principles. You believe in the dignity of the right to self-protection, the big R right. And that's not plastic. That's not moldable. That's a God-given right to defend yourself and your family. So you feel an obligation to the truth. The modern liberal doesn't. They feel an obligation to manipulate. There's a big difference.
Oh, yeah.
And that's not a chasm you can breach.
And it's interesting because the biggest weapon they have, the greatest weapon they have, is that manipulation. Like you pointed out, there's a concrete fundamental aspect to what I believe in. I was just writing a comment to someone the other day. I was like, if the KKK members were being denied their right to own firearms in this country, I would defend it. Would I enjoy it? No. But nonetheless, I understand that equal rights mean equal rights, regardless of what you believe in, where you're from. I mean, as long as legally, from the standpoint of you not being a danger to someone else, you have that right inherently. But then somehow that level of tolerance, they've managed to take that idea and twist it and then spew this nonsense that anybody who believes this on this side is either a racist or blind or they're a coon or something to that extent, to just kind of dismiss them. And take what they're saying and discredit it in some way with the group of people that they're talking to.
Yeah, I mean, you just used one of the classic liberal arguments before when you said, liberals like to tell you what you need. Well, nobody needs 30 rounds. Well, you know what? I didn't need this crappy Obamacare. This thing blew up my. But you've gotten these tweets too, I'm sure, where people, my insurance was canceled, and someone sent a tweet to me, a lib, and they said, well, your insurance was canceled because it was a garbage plan. So I wrote back, okay, well, tell me about my plan. He goes, well, I don't know about your plan. Well, how the hell do you know it was garbage? You just told me what I need. It's amazing. Like, liberals will change the argument on a dime. They'll tell you what you need or don't need only to advance a narrative. And, even little things like magazine restrictions. I said to a liberal one time in an argument on talk radio, I said, who decides, how many rounds you need in a gunfight? Defending yourself.
Yeah, I remember
the criminal.
That.
When he stops shooting, we stop shooting. Yeah. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here to defend myself. If the criminal has 30 rounds and I have 10, I lose. I mean, he doesn't care about your stupid laws, and he decides when the fight's over, not us. When he stops shooting and surrenders, and I protected my family and myself or gotten out of there, then it's over. Magazine restrictions don't decide anything.
What's interesting about that too is, they're always laying on us this idea of us having these delusions of grandeur when it comes to owning a firearm, thinking that we want to barrel roll into some type of situation where there are bad guys and we want to shoot them all down. And I'm like, the only one delusional in these situations is you, if you honestly think that creating more laws is going to stop somebody whose inherent purpose is to break those laws. We are talking about criminals. By their very definition, they are people who are out to break the law. So this idea that, okay, well, we have a magazine restriction that says that you can only carry 10 rounds. So the guy who woke up that morning and said, you know what, I'm going to go kill, I don't know, maybe 10 people today. I'm going to make sure that I have the proper magazines according to the law because I don't want to break the law when I go in there to break an even bigger law. That's delusional to me. I don't understand how somebody can rationalize that in their mind and think that makes any sense. And then when you point it out to them, they don't see it.
They know this is stupid. I mean, liberals are generally relatively smart. They know this is dumb. Remember, it's not about being honest. It's about being manipulative. And, when I was a street cop in New York, when I was a rookie, you'd always be assigned to the cells, which was like the worst job ever, especially on a busy Friday night where they were packed and, they'd yell out. They thought you were a correction officer, so they'd say, CO. They'd always be called. I'm a cop. I'm not a CO, but they'd call you for everything. But sometimes I'd really kind of get into their heads and I'd talk to them about stuff, especially on gun crimes. And I'd say, listen, gun laws, none of that stuff bothers you, because I was always a little into politics.
Yeah.
And I kid you not, they'd be like, what are you, an idiot? Like, what do you mean? Well, I don't even know the gun laws, number one. I remember one guy telling me, no, we love gun laws because then we know you're not carrying. And I tell you what, that never got out of my head. That criminals love gun laws because they know people like you and I, law-abiding gun owners in gun-grabbing states, are probably not carrying.
Yeah.
They love it. It's great for them. Terrible for us.
And you know what? You pointed out, and I'm going to take a quick break here when I say this. I just want you to think about this during the break, so when we come back, we can talk about it. You pointed out the idea that a lot of these individuals are not stupid people. You have to have somebody come of intelligence to be as manipulative as they are. And so what I want to leave the question with you is, considering they know all of these things, at the heart, why? What is it about them that makes them want to keep pushing forward these laws that they know won't do anything but actually hurt the people we're trying to protect? So think about that for a second, and we're going to take a quick break.